back. If you are just joining us, you're on to your favorite program, Democracy and the Rule of Law. Okay. I just got the feedback that the AGF, the Attorney General of the Federation, had actually reacted.
Okay.
He has requested that the case file
sent to his office.
Sent to his office.
Yes.
He has also said that he cannot be the order of the court, which had already, because the case was adjourned to January. Yeah. So he said he would, the case was already adjourned, but he will see if there's a way he could bring it forward.
Well, we have an AGF who is humane. On a serious note, I was with him in Mexico International Bar Association, AG Federation, with other Attorney General of some states. And you can look at him, the way he takes issues. So now that he's in the public balance, I just pray that he will just go and file nolle prosecute before the court and let those children go. Because he has the power to do that.
But Barrister, before this issue got to the public knowledge, shouldn't the police and AGF, or the Attorney General of the Federation, shouldn't they be working together, especially when it concerns issue of national that has the capacity to ridicule our criminal justice system?
Sometimes your question is very clear that in Nigeria, the AG of the Federation, the Attorney General, is the chief prosecutor of the Federation.
Does it?
And to that extent, he is fully in charge. For police to have done what they have done without respect to the AG is condemnable.
Does it?
It is wrong. The Attorney General Minister of Justice of the Federation, thank God he has intervened. He has called for the case file to look at it and see what could be done in circumstances so that the stain may not be a permanent stain. There have been a lot of outcry all over the world.
All over the world?
Yes, because you know that in every system all over the world, children are treated differently when it comes to criminal matters. There's juvenile justice system. Even where a child, a minor, is alleged to have committed a crime, such a child is not arraigned in the normal court for adults where everybody has access to. No. For the safety and for the welfare of that child, proceedings are taken in chambers by the court. Because you have the future of a young person at stake. And what happened in respect of this matter was that they were arraigned in a public court where the entire world have access. And well, in a way, it has turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because if they had secretly taken them to places that Nigerians may not even see, we may not know what has been happening. And what has been perturbing my mind is, for 93 days, 93 days, over 10 months.
Over 3 months, more than 3 months.
They were incarcerated. Clear violation of our law. So, it is left for the Attorney General to do the needful timeously. Because you see, these children have been denied their basic right to education for over 3 months. They've denied their other rights, and the earlier that the General does something about it, I agree with my colleague that he has the powers and ought to issue nolle prosequi and let that matter be laid to rest once and for all. Yes.
Okay.
And again, to buttress point, sometimes I can tell you the AGF and the President of Nigeria might have been shocked and tell you that, because sometimes people can do things without recourse to the authority, and I think that should be corrected. It is the dog that wags the tail does not wag the dog. So AGF should not take it lying down.
Okay. Now that we have the first, what would be the remedy for this alleged minors' right has obviously been violated? Do they have any right the ambit of our law? And secondly,
yes.
What would be a suggestion, going forward, especially as regards, the administration of criminal justice system, because it is very, very important that the administration of criminal justice system of any serious country is very, very clear. The different security agencies ought to know, the limit of their powers and how to exercise, those powers. Because we've heard over the years, not just the police, we've had the DSS, we've had the EFCC, and so many other security, agencies in Nigeria abuse their power. And this, is another glaring example of abuse of power. So what,
Anyway, I want to say that the past administration of the MBA have already delegated Chukwu Kaikwa on SAN to be in charge of all these military and lawyers in terms of how to handle things, and it has been working, and I pray it works better, because these young people's rights have been violated. So that's why we are suggesting for the AGF that there's step it could take to remedy it, when not only prosecute, violate, and let them know that this case cannot go further. Release those children and make sure they are compensated. That's just the way out, so that we don't want to go to litigation again, human rights, class action, and all these things, and then in court. They should even have legal aid. You have lawyers and who they don't even have to pay, among other things. So all these rights have been violated. They have been kept for too long a time. 93 days is over 3 months, and I don't know how long that one should have been. On a normal day, police should not take you to custody for more than 48 hours and then send you to a court of competent jurisdiction for, trial. That's what it says. So we all know the rules, we all know the laws. Where it is violated, then there must be compensation. So let them release these children, give them compensation, apologize to them, apologize to Nigeria, and then make sure it doesn't repeat itself, because this is shame on Nigeria. The whole world is shouting, opposition is shouting, everybody is shouting. Every parent is. I wept the day I saw them as a father and a grandfather that I am. I wept that day. That if these ones are treated like this, by the time they grow old, they can come back to the same nation and become ministers.
Okay. But and also adding that he had made some suggestion. What of the urban police officers? Because this was a system at play. This is about 96 people. They were conveyed from different states. It wasn't one police station. It was different police stations. So it was a system play. The police station, or if they had actually gone against the law, they have been disciplined, for this area. Police officers.
I think what ought to be done is this. One, because they were arrested and detained for 93 days, they have the option of instructing a lawyer to file for the mental rights application on their behalf for the enforcement of their rights. We know from decision of the Supreme Court that an arrest could be legal while the detention is illegal. If there are reasons for the police to have believed that a crime has been committed, and on that basis, effect arrest, it could be legal, whereas the period of detention may turn out to be legal. And on the face of it, the period of detention in this particular instance is obviously illegal, because it has gone beyond the constitutional limits imposed by the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic as amended. And the Constitution remains the grown-up, the highest law in this nation. So they can go to court and seek help for the violation of their fundamental rights and seek for damages and public apology for violation of their rights as Nigerian citizens. Again, the lawyers who are defense lawyers who may also go back to the court and apply for the variation of the terms of bail granted to these minors. Where bail appears to be excessive, the party affected can go to court to say, look, this condition is too difficult for us to meet. Reduce it. Like I said earlier, the essence of bail is just guaranteed that the person concerned will come back to face trial. It's not meant to be a punishment. And again, another curious twist in the matter is that some cases, if you look at the nature of the individuals involved, will warrant speedy or accelerated hearing. But in this case, the matter was adjourned to a date in late January 2025. This is November. November will go, December will go, January will almost be gone before they appear in court again. I believe the AGF can still take steps to ensure that the matter is called before the next date of adjournment, because the date is fast, so that these children can have their rights restored, they return to their families, and so on. And again, we as a nation, we know that when it comes to administration of criminal justice, it is always on the prosecution to prove the allegation beyond reasonable doubt. It is not for these children or whosoever that's involved to prove his or her innocence. Of course, our constitution has already clothed them with a gap of innocence, because there's presumption of innocence in their favor. And with that presumption of innocence, bail is a constitutional right. And because it's a constitutional right, it must be exercised in a way that shows it's a right, not a privilege. Sometimes there appears to be, a kind of issue when you say, well, that the court has discretion to grant bail, but the Constitution says trials that bail is a constitutional right, especially trial in the first court of first instance. Look at also at the nature of the charge, and then you discover also that the allegations that the children were working with one Britain to destabilize the nation and invite military to take over. We know that if military is to take over, God forbid, because nobody wants military intervention in the affairs of Nigeria, especially in the area of governance. We had military rule which traumatized the nation for years, and we don't want anyone again. And then we know that the coups that were plotted in the past were plotted by people who had influence, who had money, who had connections. Manners cannot, on the face of it, be seen to be plotting to overthrow the government.
All right, we'll go on a short break, and when we come, we'll look briefly at the issue concerning.
Before we close this one,
okay.
Another angle to it is, in future, let our leaders know that when young people are involved, they don't send them to prison. They send them to hostile homes. And we still have 3 hostile homes in Nigeria. We have 3 of them. We have in Ogun, Abeokuta, we have in Kwara, and we have in Kaduna states. So if they are young people, they are supposed to be put there, and they are meant to be held there and reform children who are in conflict with the law. So they are supposed to be reformed in those homes, not in the. So let it never repeat itself again, because we have these 3 hostile homes. If they are in Katsina, Kano, they are close to Kaduna. Put them in hostile home in Kaduna. They must be, because in hostile home there are teachers. There are, it's like a mini school. Only thing is that they could not go back home. So please let us. Everybody, the whole world is looking at us. And Nigeria, they say we are giant of Africa. Let's behave like proper giants. In future, let us not find this kind of a thing repeating itself. It's a shame on us. It's a slap on our face.
All right, we'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll look at the last topic briefly. Stay tuned, we'll be back shortly. All right, Barrister, we have less than 5 minutes to look at this issue. course, the Federal High Court have barred the CBN for releasing further allocation, to the River State government. Of course, so many people have condemned, that ruling. Some have even gone to the extent that it violates the principle of federalism. That the Supreme Court had even ruled in the past that it's illegal for the federal government to withhold allocation due to any of the federating units. So what is your opinion on all of this?
My opinion still remains that the drama playing out in Rivers State is condemnable at times. There's no justification, as far as I'm concerned, for the allocation due to Rivers State to be withheld. And for a court to have given an order that the allocation be withheld. It raises so many issues, and we are also witnesses to various conflicting judgments and orders in Rivers State in the past couple of months. And these things are not doing Nigeria any good, particularly the judicial system. Our judiciary has been exposed to ridicule. Sometimes Judge A will give an order, Judge B will give a counter order. And the masses will be asking which one should be followed. I discover also that in respect of these matters, there is subject matter jurisdiction, which means that there is a matter that a particular court has powers to treat under the law. And we have seen instances where judges have gone ahead to entertain matters that ordinarily is not within their subject matter jurisdiction. And that is highly disturbing. We know that Rivers State has been captured by a big politician, and the big politician wants to pocket Rivers State. But that's the very negation of democracy I want to profess. We profess a system of constitutional democracy. We profess a system of rule of law. We profess a system where the law determines, dictates what happens, and where nobody is above the law. Now, with the allocation of rivers being suspended on the basis of order of court, sometimes you begin to wonder how and why some orders are considering the nature of what is concerned. Without allocation, a lot of things will be halted. Payment of salaries, projects that are ongoing, and a whole lot of things will be affected. And at what instance is this allocation halted? Now, whoever has come out to take upon himself to say, look, don't release further funds, is the person's personal interest over and above the interest of the entire people of Rivers State?
Well, I think that would be a question that you answer. So Dr. Brett,
well, on a serious note, is an anomaly on a serious note, and his problem is that this is not the first time it's happening in Nigeria. So, as a comic relief, Fubara should have a personal interview with Tinubu and ask him how he managed it in Lagos when under Obasanjo the funds were not released.
Yeah, but
So
some people have drawn a distinction between what happened in Lagos.
Yes,
Yes.
those were not.
It was the local government fund
Yeah.
that were withheld,
Yes.
not actually the
The
Lagos, the
the
state
state.
fund. That was in the case of Lagos State.
Well,
Of course,
Well, the one in Rivers now, I think is it started with the local government election. That's where the problem was starting from. So it was illegal, it was this and that. You see, but the main thing is that I believe It's high time we separate the account of the judiciary. It's three systems of government. The legislation have its fund, executive have his own budget. Let judiciary have independent budget, so that it is not run by. We don't want government to run our budget as judiciary, so that at there will be independence of the judiciary. And I'm glad that the chief judge has called for some things. He has called some judges to review many things. I believe our judges now will be able to sit right and say this is the truth, no matter whose ox is. This is how we're able to praise the likes of Justice Kayode Esho, Justice Oputa, of blessed memory. There are judges who will just give the judgment the way it is, not caring whose ox is God. But these days, I'm surprised what is happening. It's not very good for us.
All right. Because of time, this is obviously where we'll be rounded off for today's edition. We thank our guests who have, of course, shed light on these issues. Dr. Fred, we thank you for gracing the show.
My pleasure.
Thank you for gracing the show.
Yes, and it's also important to note that the police officers who were involved in the arrest and detention of those children for 93 days must be held accountable for their illegal and unconstitutional infraction of the rights of these children.
All right. The policemen, the law enforcement officers, of course, who were involved in the detention of these alleged children should be held and accountable for their action. This is where we draw the curtain on today's episode of Democracy and the Rule of Law. Of course, meet us same time next week, as we look at more trending topics. And also do well to follow us on all our social media channels and also on Prime Time. Till we meet next.